Well,
Good morning, everybody. My name is Angie Bailey. I am glad to welcome everybody on behalf of the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Western Florida Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for being here. Like I said, we're ready for the holidays, but we're already thinking about 2025 and how to make it a successful year for everybody, for ourselves personally and professionally, and make sure that our businesses are strong going into the new year. So with us today to talk about 2025 strategic planning is Carolina Alay. She's with Blue Mind. Carolina is an accomplished executive with over 20 years of experience in the field of applied behavior analysis, specializing in psychology, behavior analysis, and child development. She demonstrates an expertise in leading successful initiatives to enhance the lives of individuals with behavioral challenges through evidence-based interventions. She's currently serving as the CEO of Blue Mind LLC, a leading organization dedicated to providing innovative ABA services and solutions. Please help us welcome Ms. Carolina Alay.
thank you so much. That's a very nice introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be a guest speaker today and to be presenting to all of you. I am very excited to share my knowledge with, fellow chamber members. And I hope that, like other people that are maybe not in this chamber after this topic, feel motivated to join as well. They're very good and they have a lot of nice resources for everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here today with all of you. So without further ado, let's get started. My presentation today is about strategic goal setting, and I'm going to give you the behavioral perspective because we all have heard about how important it is to have goals and that we need them for both business and personal achievements, that it's very important for us to have a clear and to like look forward to something so we can achieve it. And pretty much everyone, I think, is thinking about this picture right here. Like we're all focusing on having that end of the year party and saying goodbye to this year and looking forward to welcoming next year, right? So let's start right there. First, I am going to, oops, give me a quick second because my presentation is not moving forward for whatever reason. So give me a quick second. Hold on. There we are. So this is a picture that I drew in 1998. And this was the first picture that my dad framed. The reason why I'm showing you this is because when we are little, we have the opportunity to dream and to dream very big. So when I was little, I wanted to be an artist. That was my thing. My mom was an accomplished uh, nutritionist. She was the dean of a prestigious university in South America. And despite all her other colleagues having daughters and sons that wanted to become engineers and doctors and lawyers, I wanted to be an artist. And my mom was my biggest supporter. So she always said, do what you want. If you want it from the heart, you can achieve it. And I'm sure of that. So I really was into it. But when I remember when I received the paperwork when I was in my last year of high school and I received the paperwork to apply to the universities, I freaked out. I freaked out to the point that I was crying nonstop. And my mom was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be. And she was like, what do you mean you don't know what you're going to be? Everybody knows that you're going to be an artist. And I'm like, I'm not sure anymore. I'm not sure because I don't want to be a starving artist. Like I don't want to be like at a park selling my paintings or making like little bracelets for people to give me pennies. Like, how am I going to make a living out of it? So she was like, well, that's a decision that you can, that you have to take on your own. So moving forward, I decided that I wasn't going to be an artist anymore. I wanted to do something else that I was passionate about, and that was helping people. So I decided to study psychology, and I started my bachelor's degree in psychology in Columbia many years ago, actually on 1999. That was when I started. And I study and I get very good at it and I really enjoy, but in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be an artist. So moving forward, I came to the United States. We were political asylees because of the, economical and political situation in my country, and my mom's position as the dean of the university was, putting us all in danger. So we have to move here and start from scratch, as many of, you do as well, and many immigrants. So I set my goal that I wanted to graduate from Florida International University. I didn't have, like I was working on my political asylee status, and I didn't have any funds. I was not working at a time, like I was very young. I was 18. So everything was against me, and I thought I could speak English. If I found out that I couldn't because I couldn't understand the jokes. So that was a little setback on that goal. But every time I would pass by the university, I said, I'm going to graduate from that university no matter what. And it happened. This is a picture of me exhibiting my artwork at the FIU gallery and at the university. And that's my painting right there. So what happened is that I transferred my credits from Colombia, and they decided that I had a lot of credits for psychology, but I needed to do extra credits. So I said, okay, I took it as an opportunity, and I said, what, let me do those credits in art, because after all, I wanted to become an artist. So I did. I used my credits in art, and after that, many other exhibitions came, and I was able to even sell my paintings. This is me 4 years after that. So between the first picture and the second picture is 10 years. So for 10 years, I, work on my skills. This is 4 years after. And I just wanted to show you that when you set up a goal, sometimes it doesn't happen right away. It happens in small increments, in small efforts that you accumulate, kind of like a compound interest. So if you save $5 every Monday, you're saving $5 and your interest is accumulated for those $5 today. And next Monday, you're not going to have five, you're going to have 10. So your interest is going to be on $10 and then on $15. And that's the concept of compound interest. So the same concept can be applied to many other things and skills and goals that you have in life. It doesn't matter how big it is. What it matters is the little efforts, the little addition of small efforts that you put into it to achieve something that at the beginning might look like, like unachievable. This is me. I am a behavior analyst, and today we're going to cover some topics, and I'm hoping that we can answer some questions at the end. So I'll make it brief and I'll try to move forward quickly. Number one, we're going to learn about how to set goals. We're going to talk a little bit about behavior science, because after all, I'm a behavior analyst. I am going to show you my tricks about data collection so you can track your goals. We're going to talk about the 4 rules of behavior. We're going to talk about reinforcement. We're going to talk about how the environment sets us for failure or success, depending on how we manipulate it. Going to talk about instant gratification. And at the end, we're going to talk about the power of heart, the power of the heart. So everybody has heard this concept about goal setting, that they have to be SMART. SMART standing for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. I'm sure that you all are familiar with this concept. And goals are a requirement for personal and business success. But what is the actual process? What's going on from the moment you create a goal to actually crossing it out of your list? That's what we're going to discuss next. So this is my gig. I am a behavior analyst. I study human behavior. And these are the steps that I take every time I have to study a subject. First is observation. The difference between a behavior analyst and a psychologist is that the methods that we use are different. So a psychologist goes more for like the tell me methods. So you go and you tell the psychologist what happens, and then she helps you elaborate over your perception of what happens. We base our procedures on observation. So if the parent is telling me, my child is tantruming all day long, I don't want you to tell me, I want to see it. So I go and I set up an observation time. It could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours, it could be, 2 days. And I am going to directly observe that behavior. Why is that important? Because when we are telling somebody else about what is happening, your biases and your interpretation gets in the middle. But when you're directly observing a behavior, you are eliminating those variables. So your observations are more clear and more objective, and that is going to lead to take more objective determinations and continue the treatment in a more observable and like more objective way. So the second step after I conduct my observation is that I make a baseline. That means I am going to observe what behaviors I'm looking for. If I'm working with a little client, for example, with a 4-year-old, I am looking what are those behaviors that might get in the way. So let's say tantrum, let's say that he's screaming or he's throwing blocks in the classroom, and that is being disruptive to the whole classroom. So I am going to make a baseline. How many times does he actually take an object and throw it away? How many times does he bang his head? How many times is he screaming, right? And that is going to be my baseline. If we translate that to the business, how am I going to take baseline on my staff performance? So I first go and I observe, is this person following the training steps that I deliver? Is this person following the protocols that I instructed, right? So that's my baseline. Then after I have that baseline, I have a clear picture of what the current situation is, right? So that is where I set my goals. And let me tell you, my goals are almost look like impossible to achieve, because when I go, it's like my goal is for this child to communicate in full sentences. Current status, the child doesn't speak. Right. So at first they look like, how are you gonna do that? Like, it's not gonna be, it's not possible. Or this child is not going to throw any tantrums in a period of 6 months. Current status of tantrums, 24 per day. Like they look so big and so impossible to, right? But I cross that out of my mental picture and my biases, and I just go directly into the data, right? So if I can isolate these things and I can take a look at it as this is a behavior, that means that is observable and measurable, and that I can apply some things to it, and I can systematically make modifications so that I gradually move from 0 to 100 or from 100 to 0, depending on the situation, then this is achievable. That's how we create the goals. So that's what I do day in and day out. We create goals. We create goals for kids to learn how to communicate properly. We create goals for them to be socially adequate with peers. We create goals for them to master skills, to be attentive, to be productive, to follow through with directives that we give them. And that's not very different to what I do with the parents, because we also provide parent training. So when we're working with the parents, I feel like the difference between adults and children is that the children are more open to change. Adults are more like they have more engraved that idea that this is who I am, right? Because after all, what we repeat every day becomes what we are, our identity. So when we work with the parents, we have to do the same procedure. We observe how the parent acts. What are their actions? What are their responses? What are the ideas they have that they think that they cannot change? Oh, this is how I was raised, so this is how I have to raise my kids, and things like that. So we go based on that and we make systematical modifications little by little and show them that things could be different. Once they open, then you have like another route. Like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Very important, at every step, we are collecting data. Why? Because that is keeping us objective that is keeping us away from our perception. If your perception, perception can be tricky because your eyes and your ears can lie to you. Your brain is pretty much designed to resolve everyday problems and to make them as easy as possible to navigate. So you don't have to think so much about every single detail. So are, uh, if you don't like people screaming and your child screams 2 times a day, it might seem like he's screaming all day, but it's your perception, right? But somebody that is not bothered by screaming behaviors, they might say, oh, she doesn't scream a lot, maybe once. So your perception of how you feel and the stimulus that are in the environment can shape and change the way that you describe something. So this is why it's so important to create data collection systems on your organizations, because like maybe if you see that an employee has been late twice and being late, it's a value, or being on time is one of your values, you're going to see this like, oh my God, this person is late every single time. And your perception is going to be different to the reality. So it is really important that you guys have data collection systems that allow you to keep track of objectively of the situation of your organizations. And then based on that, you're going to make systematic modifications. So some experts call this a marginal adjustment. Basically, the theory of the marginal adjustment says that if you improve your baseline for 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll have a change of 365% improvement, right? Because every day you're improving 1%. So that little thing, it's accumulating, and then you're going to make a significant change at the end of the year. Otherwise, if you decrease your performance, or if you don't do anything about it, you're going to remain at zero. Your baseline is not going to move because you're not making anything to make that significant change. This is the graph of one of my clients. This is how baseline looks like. And here we were tracking how well she could follow one-step directions. So for example, come here, sit down, stand up, line up, right? So as you can see, the first day, she didn't follow any directions. The second day, she could follow 5 directives. And then the third day, she could follow like 10. So it was increasing, but compared to the amount of demands and one-step directions that she receives in the school every day, this was very minimum, okay? This line here represents our intervention. So this is when I said, okay, let's make a plan for her to follow one-step directives. We're gonna make them clear, we're gonna make them short. So instead of saying, such and such, I need you to come here, please, because like we're going to make it so easy for her that every time she hears it, she's gonna do it. For example, stand up, and then we're gonna help her stand up. Sit down, and we're gonna help her sit down. And then we're gonna reinforce that behavior. Good job standing up, good job sitting down. And then we're gonna repeat the same instruction. Very easy and very short. The types of data collection matter. You can track different things. You can track frequency. For example, how often does the behavior occur? So you can start tracking your personal goals too. How often do you go for a run? How often do you eat a healthy meal? How often do you smoke? How often do you drink? Because behaviors are not only bad things. It could be bad things. It could be good things. They're just behaviors. Duration. For how long are you engaging in the behavior? So for example, if you like binge watch things in Netflix, you can track that. For how long have I been watching Netflix? For how long have been I scrolling on my phone instead of being productive, right? You can check latency. Latency is the time that happens from the moment you have an instruction to the moment that you're actually executing that instruction. So for example, if you set your day and you said, okay, today I'm going to make a phone call to, I'm going to make 5 phone calls to 5 new clients, 5 new leads, right? How long does it take from the moment that you said, I'm going to do it, to the moment that you're actually doing it? Are you doing it right away? Are you doing it halfway throughout the day? Are you doing it like at 5 p.m. when you know most businesses are closing at 5:30 or 6? So your chances of achieving that goal differ from the moment that you said you're going to do it until the moment that you're actually doing. And the results could be different because of that little detail, right? And then there is the enter response time. The enter response time is the time that happens between one instruction and the next instruction. So for example, if you are feeding a child, the enter response time can look like, how long does it take to take a spoon and then another spoonful of food, right? What is that response time in between? Now, as a business owner, you can track how quickly are you responding to your clients? How much time does it take for a delivery person to give a packet and then another packet and then another packet? How long does it take for you to see one client after the other client? How much time are you allotting to each client? And are you delivering the service, the type of service that that you want, and maybe not delivering too much time to a person that it's not going to end up in a sales, for example. So those are things that we can all track and make our businesses more profitable. This is the graph after the intervention. This is my same client. So as you remember, we started down here when she was making an average 5 following 5 times. This is our intervention. This is how she's doing right now. The reason why I wanted to show you this graph is because everybody thinks that once you start making progress look linear, that you're supposed to go like an arrow to the sky. And that is not true. We measure progress day after day. As everybody, we have our days that we do good and we have our days that we don't so good. These lines red here, the red lines, they represent events, things that happen during the day that maybe are not things that happen every day, but it happened that day. For example, the child was sick. For example, grandma came to visit and she was very excited, so she couldn't concentrate on the test, you know? If you translate that to the business operations, it could be like one of your best employees calling sick and you couldn't, you know, provide the service the way you had imagined it. So those are little setbacks, but the important lines are not these dot lines here and the graph that I'm showing you. The important line is the gray line that is going up. That is our trend. So when I am conducting a supervision to one of my therapists, I don't focus so much on what happened here, why this day on the 29th, everything went down. I'm focusing on the overall progress. So when you set up a goal for your organization, you need to track, because even if you have those days that are going down, then you might have other days that are going up. You have to look at the overall projection. Is the trend going up? Are you still going up even though you have some setbacks? And that's the really important data. This is the meat and potatoes of this presentation, and I'm very excited to share with you. I got inspired by a book called Atomic Habits, and you guys should read it. It's very nice if you haven't read it before. But these are the 4 rules of behavior, and this is how habits are created. If you want something to be established and to increase, we need to make it obvious. We need to make it easy. We need to make it satisfying. And you need to receive a reward for doing it. That's how a behavior gets established, right? So for example, when my clients come in, we design a behavior plan, for example, for a child that doesn't communicate, and we make it obvious. That means we have a picture board. We are using gestural communication. We are imitating. We are exaggerating our gestures so the kid is exposed constantly to that verbal behavior. We have pictures for him. We have buttons. We have a tablet. We have a lot of different ways that that child can communicate, because we don't know which one will work with him, but we are exposing him to the majority of things. So if you want to, let's say, for example, establish a habit of writing or journaling, keep the journal in a place where you can find it. Make it easy for you, make it obvious. If you want to start a new exercise routine, well, put your equipment close to where you can see it, where you almost like it's so obvious you cannot avoid it. And that will help you create that habit. The second rule is make it easy. A lot of times when we want to accomplish something, especially in business, I'm a business owner, and I can set a goal, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, this is so hard. How am I going to do this? It looks almost impossible, right? So what I do is I try to make it as easy as possible, and I follow the 2-minute rule. So the 2-minute rule is what I can do in 2 minutes that it's working towards that big goal that I have. Anybody can do anything in 2 minutes, right? And I'll tell you a little story. I always like to be in like good shape, right? But I'm not a big athlete. I tried a lot of things. I tried swimming, but here, like the weather, so I had an excuse not to do it because it was rainy, because it was stormy, because whatever. I didn't have a pool in my house. Then I said, okay, let me do karate. So I started karate and it was very good, but then it became really difficult because I had my study work schedule and it was kind of like getting complicated. Then I got married and I set a goal with my husband to go to the gym. So I paid for a whole year membership and we went. We end up playing like table tennis and we will leave after a few minutes because we were like, this is not cut off for us. So that didn't work either. And my last attempt was boxing and kickboxing, and with the pandemic, everything closed, so that didn't last long either. So I'm a busy mom. I have 2 kids. I have my own company. It's always the time that I'm, looking for, like, how can I squeeze working out an exercise routine in this tight schedule? So I started looking for a program that would allow me to do it, and I found a program that offers me to work out 15 minutes a day, 4 times a week. And I said, listen, if I cannot take 15 minutes for myself, I can't do anything. So I said, I have to make it. And 15 minutes, if I apply the compound interest law, is going to be better than nothing, right? So that's what I started doing. So I started exercising for 15 minutes Monday, Tuesday. I will rest on Wednesday and I'll do Thursday and Friday. Then it became so easy to do that when I woke up on Wednesday, I'm like, oh, let's do exercise. And I was like, today is Wednesday. Oh, I can relax. But hey, since I'm already here, how about I do my 15 minutes, right? So once the habit is created, it's easier for you to increase and making it a little bit more challenging. So by just doing that 15, one day I said, I feel still good. Maybe I can go for a little longer. Maybe I can go for a walk afterwards. And my initial goal was not like lose a lot of weight or gain a lot of muscle. It was just to stay active. And that program made it really easy for me because I don't need any type of equipment. I just need a mat in the video and I can do it in my house. So if you're interested, send me a thing at the end and I can share what the program is because it's not, I'm not sponsored them or anything, but it just, like I get it. I'm a mom and I'm an owner and sometimes we don't have the time for it, right? Make it satisfying. Our senses are in everything that we do. And whether we are aware of it or not, we're constantly getting bombarded with sensory stimulation. Like, if you want to know why opening a can of soda is so satisfying, is because people in marketing have been working to perfect the sound of the click, clack when you open the soda. It makes it so satisfying. The bubbles, like when you go to your ear, that is why, because you're being programmed to like that. They are triggering your senses. Marketers like that work in the food companies, they spend thousands and millions of dollars every year to appeal to your senses. They are making food, like, for example, until the 70s, the obesity was very steady in the United States, but after 1970, it took a big spike. The reason why is because the scientists discover and the marketing companies for food, for the food industry discovered that um, foods that require less chewing trick your brain, because if the food is soft, then you don't have to send the signals to the brain that you're satisfied, right? So they started appealing to those type of and advertising that type of foods, the cheesy foods, the ones that melt in your mouth. If you think about it, everything that is fast food has that component. They're soft. You don't have to chew at all. Ice cream, the fudge, the delicious Starbucks coffee that you take every morning contains lots of sugar. It is making it so satisfying that it's hard to resist. So you can use that rule to put it in your favor and do the things that you do want to increase satisfying. For example, me personally, I wanted to do mindful meditation, but with two kids, it's hard. So what I did is I purchased a little hand cream, a little lotion that had an amazing smell. So every time in the morning after I shower, when I'm doing this with my hand, I'm like, this smells so good. And that's when I do my 2-minute meditation. And then I go on with my day, right? So I made it satisfying. To me, I'm looking forward to that smell every morning. So I have my son and I can go and crush it. But you can use those things in your favor, and you can also be aware of what things are happening so you're not a victim of it. And the last rule is making it rewarding. So, for example, with my clients, when we are teaching kids with ADHD to stay still and complete tasks, that seems almost impossible. At least that's what the teachers tell us, like, not in a million times. So what we do is we, again, take the baseline. Okay, for how long can this child concentrate? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 4 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? All right. Once we have that baseline, I said, we are going to make it so easy, he can say no to that. So every work that this child does, it's going to be under baseline. So if he can concentrate for 5 minutes, all the tasks have to last 4 minutes. And we can apply the same to us. So when I have a lot of projects and I have a lot of things that I need to complete, sometimes it's hard for me to concentrate on the same activity for a long period of time because I get tired of it. And then I'm like, exhaustion kicks in. And then, like you procrastinate and you push it to the end. What I do is I have a mix of tasks that I can complete. So, for example, yesterday I was doing billing, and it gets to a point that it's like, okay, I need a break. So then I started working on designing the little tags that I'm going to use for my 10-year reunion with my company, because I'm going to have like little cupcakes and I'm going to put those little things. So I dedicated a little break of 10 minutes to design those things. And that took my brain into another stage. And I was still being productive. I was just not being productive with the same task. I decided to be productive with another task. And then I went back to billing. So that's a strategy that we use, and we use it with the children too. You're going to do the task for 3 minutes, then you go have a break. Maybe you do jumping jacks, maybe do, like a math exercise, and you come back and you finish what you're doing. So we break it into small segments to make it more effective. These are all things that you can use to increase behavior, to establish and increase behavior. Now let's see what happens when you want to decrease behavior. So what we do, we invert the 4 rules. So if you don't want the temptation, make it disappear. There is this delicious bread that has a lot of nuts and fruits that it seems to be very healthy, but is very high in calories. So I was kind of like obsessed with it. So I don't buy it anymore. Then I don't eat it anymore. Ta-da! You know, if you want something to kind of like, if you notice that something is getting in your way, making it disappear could be very easy way to help you get the behavior down. Sometimes it's getting distracted when you are eating with your family, or having your phone and constantly scrolling through social media. So maybe at a certain time, you can say, okay, I'm going to put my phone to charge, and you disconnect from it so you can connect with people. That could be a small but significant change that you can make. The other one is make it hard, right? So, for example, if our clients we want to decrease a behavior, we make it difficult for them to be accessible. We make it difficult to attain, and we can do that to ourselves too, right? So, for example, if I love drinking coffee, right, and it's because it's right across the street from my kids' school, what I can do is when I pick them up, instead of making that U-turn to go to Starbucks, I can take a ride. And then I make it very difficult because on that way, there's no Starbucks, or the Starbucks, like I'll have to go out of my way to go to the one. And then by that time, I'm like, you know what, forget it. So making it harder for me to do it every day. Okay. Make it dissatisfying. So that's another thing that you can do, you know. When a person or a smoker is smoking and you ask them, why do you do that? Oh, because it helps me relax. So at the end of the day, behaviors don't occur just because of the behavior. They never happen out of the blue. They always happen because the person wants to feel in a certain way. They want to feel relaxed, for example, when they're smoking. Or if you're overeating, is because you find comfort in that and makes you feel good. So how can you make that dissatisfying? How can you make it so other things are more appealing, things that are good for you in the long run, right? The fourth rule is make it lose its value. I'm going to give you an example that I tell my parents when I am teaching them about satiation. And it is, like when you are on a diet and you are a chocolate lover, you might want and crave chocolate all day. Ask me the same question on November 1st after, Halloween, where everybody was offering you chocolate and you probably ate a lot of chocolate. I asked my kids, do you want a candy? They're like, no, thank you, right? Why? Because they lose their value. When you are exposed to something very often to the point of satiation, it just loses its value. So it is important as a business owner when you're thinking about these rules, because they not only apply to personal growth, and they apply to how you manage your business too, right? So what is valuable for your employees? How can you decrease the value on certain behaviors that you want to reduce, like coming in late, right? So maybe you can increase the value of coming on time. By playing with those variables, you can make a big impact in the results of your company. And this brings us to the next topic, which is reinforcement. So let's pretend that you're going to have three plans here, right? The basic plan, the standard plan, and the plus plan. And let's pretend that if you achieve just three of this, you get a $500. But if you apply a little bit more, you get $800 every time you do it. And let's pretend that if you apply all of these rules, you get $1,000. Right? So I want you to think about your line of job and your employees and your company, and ask yourself, how easy is the work that my employees are doing? Is it easy enough for them to complete? Right. So if yes, check mark. Do they have the skills to be there? So as a manager, you have to make sure that you are delegating the jobs to the people that can do the jobs, or you are training them to have the skills that are necessary to complete those jobs. Are they receiving training? That's the next question. So maybe they have a lot of potential, but are you taking the time and the efforts to train the staff to be as productive or to receive the training, they need to be really good at what they're doing and provide the best service for the company. Now, if you check those three yes, then, like you want a $500. But let's see, everybody wants to go to the next level, right? So have you asked yourself what makes them drive? What makes you drive? What makes your employees drive? Is it that they're really motivating by providing a great customer care? Is it that they're very passionate about, the industry that they're serving? What makes them get up and go to your job every day? That's really important because you need to know that. Those are the type of questions that you have to find out so you can provide reinforcements. And I'll tell you from my experience, because I like coffee, right? So I said, okay, if everybody turned their timesheets on time, I'm going to give you a $20, $25 Starbucks gift card to the employee that is very consistent every week for a month, right? And I was doing it because I said, this is a great incentive. I love Starbucks. Who doesn't like Starbucks, right? I was wrong because there's some people, especially the one that earned it, that didn't like Starbucks. She didn't drink coffee. So sometimes we assume that because we like something, other people also like it. And we fail at asking the people that the prize is intended for to what is it that motivates you? What would you like? What will bring you to the next level? What is that thing that sparks, to do better? So that's important. Now, how often are you rewarding good behavior? We tend, and this is a human thing, we have this tendency to focus on the things that are not going well, and everything that is going right, we kind of like look aside, like don't touch it, don't look at it, it's going well, don't say anything. It happens with my kids. When my kids are behaving, the parents are like, shh, don't say anything, don't talk to him, he's quiet, right? But when the kid is misbehaving, then we go, what are you doing? Why are you acting like that? This is not how you talk to mommy. Da, 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 da. And the same for the employees, right? Why didn't you show up on time? Where's your report? Where are you doing this? What are you doing that? But that same employee has been doing a great performance for months and he hasn't heard a good job. Keep it up. You're doing amazing. I really like the way you're doing it. Show me more of your what you can do. So how often are you reinforcing those good behaviors? How often are you doing a performance review and going down, okay, this is my goal. This is where the team needs to be by the end of the year. Where are we? Okay. Maybe you hire throughout the year, like myself. I don't have like seasons where I hire constantly throughout the year. So I create performance reviews every 3 months. Like the first 90 days, I sit down with the employee and I go, this is what is going well. This is what needs improvement. What do you need from me? How can I support you so you can do your best? And then we go from there, right? Now, if you do that, you got your 800 bonus, right? So let's move into the next level. Are you willing to receive feedback from employees? That's a tough one, right? Because we all like to receive rewards and we all like to be told how good we're doing and how good of a manager or an owner we are and how good our company is doing. But it's hard when somebody gives you bad feedback. When somebody tells you, yeah, you can improve here, you can improve there, you can improve your communication, you can improve this and this and that. Or I don't feel seen in your company. I don't feel satisfied. Maybe if you give me this, I will be better. That's the challenging part, right? But we have to do it in order to become better. Now, are the employees supported? Okay, you want them to do this and do this and do this and do that. Do they have the support they need to actually do what you're asking them to do? Right? That's another big question. And how satisfied are they with your company? So if you measure satisfaction levels, that can tell you how the whole climate of the company is going. How is your, the company functioning internally? Are they really a team? Are they connected? Are they working? Are you all like, okay, I need somebody to jump in here and then somebody's offering? Do you have that culture of support? Do they have that willingness to get up on a Monday and say, yes, I want to go to work. I want to do this. I don't want to cancel. That's your plus, right? So that's really important for you guys to analyze. I know you all come from different backgrounds and different companies and different things, but I think we're all human and we all work under the same principles. Everything applies to the human being. So you can all apply the same rules to your industry. Let's talk about instant gratification. These are some things that I've heard people tell me. Like it's too hard. For example, I was talking to a friend recently and she wanted to start exercising because she wanted to, just feel active. Um, and she got one of those machines that go up and down. And she had it there because she was like, I come from work, I'm exhausted, I have a shift of like 10 hours standing. I look at the thing and I'm like, "Ugh, why are you here? Like, I don't like you, right? So if it's too hard, make the 2-minute rule. What can you do that it's under 2 minutes? Just set up a timer, 2 minutes towards that goal, right? 2 minutes, you can do it. Everybody can do 2 minutes of anything. My son's karate instructor says something that really got stuck in my head and is the more you do, the more you can do. The less you do, the less you can do. And that applies for anything. And I just thought that was so great, right? So if I do push-ups, I do 2 push-ups, then my body will be strong enough to do 3 push-ups and then 4 push-ups. If I don't do push-ups, then most likely I'm not going to be able to do 20 push-ups because I never started with the first 2. Everything starts with that first step, right? The other thing that I've heard was, I don't have the resources to do it. And yes, I've been there, and this couple of years haven't been particularly really good in the finances. But I figure out that you might not have extra income, but you could also cut in expenses, and that counts as savings, right? So when you look at the picture of your financial institution or your finances as a company, um, a lot of the times we have goals that are very out there because we don't have the resources to just, like do it right away. But how can you work it little by little to get closer to that so that our graph looks a little bit like this, right? The other thing that I've heard was it's easier to do what's wrong. And that is so true. Because, like I said before, our brains are designed to help you solve problems and to make your life very easy. So you don't have to think about it. If you pay attention, you usually tie the same shoe, the same, shoe every day, and then the other. It's because that it's a mechanical process. You don't have to think about it. You just do it automatically. Um, and the same thing, like it's easier to scroll on the phone because you have it, because it's available, because like you have downtime and then you just go there and it's just easier. So if you understand those 4 rules that we apply before, that we talk about, you can be conscious about it and make the things that you want to achieve easy. Make it easy. Make it available, make it pleasurable, make it rewarding, and then you will accomplish that. Now, the other one is that to make my dream a reality, I have to make a great sacrifice. People think that, like I want to be strong, so I have to pay a year subscription. I have to spend 2 hours in the gym every day to be there, and that's a lot of work. So therefore, I'm not gonna do it. Right? So we go back to that. So if we apply the marginal adjustment rule of 1% every day, just do 1%. The other thing that I will add to the marginal adjustment rule is go back to the basics. Basketball players, they have to be able to throw from far away distances, right? Their training, or when one of the best players and teams here in the United States was champion for several years in a row, is because their trainer told the players that they have to repeat the same exercise over and over and over. Can you do a hoop? Yes. From 3 feet? Yeah. From 5 feet? From I don't know how many feet? Yes. Can you do it 200 times? Can you do it 300 times? Right? So it wasn't that he was doing something extraordinary. It was just doing the same thing, but consistently every day, many times. Repeat the basics. So when you are analyzing your business, go back to the things that work. What has been successful for you in the past when you have an issue? What worked? And then do it over and over again. Yes, people that are successful are not people that are doing extraordinary things. They're people that are um, consistent. And I think that's what makes us, in our job, in our line of job, very good at what we do, is because we are paying our RBTs, our technicians, to be consistent with their clients. So every day you're going to repeat the same instructions. Every day you're going to reinforce the same behaviors. So the kids don't have a way to to escape from that, because we are teaching them that consistency and perseverance and that repetition of the same thing until they achieve the goals. So in 6 months, we go from the kid that didn't talk at all to now he's saying one-word sentences. Yay! And then what do? We do a reevaluation and we set up another set of goals. Okay, now he's doing one sentence, one word utterances. What do we do now? Let's push it to two, right? So we do that, make it uncomfortable. If we're teaching them to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable, so of course at the beginning, because they already mastered that skill, they feel super comfortable. They're like cookie, milk, water. And we're like, okay, now from now on, you're gonna say, give me water. And they're like, what? Yeah, because we have to, make a little adjustment to get you out of that comfort zone and bring you into the growth zone. The growth zone, if you're too comfortable, you're not gonna move, you're not gonna do anything. You need to be uncomfortable so you can move into the next thing. Um, I'm almost done with the presentation, but I wanted to share this with you. This is a picture that my dad drew in August this year. When he retired, he decided that he wanted to become an artist too. I guess he was inspired by the first picture that I show you, because he hung it inside his apartment. So he decided that he wanted to give it a try, and he started drawing classes at the community center near his house. This is a picture that he sent me in November this year. So it's just been a couple of months, and this is the picture, that the sample that he took, and this is the one that he did. So he tried to replicate it. As you see, the improvement has been tremendous, and it's because he has dedicated himself every day a little bit, just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, to improving his drawing skills. My dad is 70, so this is very inspiring. I also had the pleasure to spend time with my mom. She came to visit, and she spent like a month with me. And she's never been overweight, but she's like on the chubby side. She went last year to visit my brother, who was living at the time in California, and he had a gym because he's a part of the Marine Corps. So he had a gym in his house, and she started exercising. And she's always liked to run, but she wasn't very much into like weightlifting or anything like that. But she'd had a lot of time and she really liked that. So she started doing her exercise and weighting lifts. And when she came, she had dropped, I don't know how many pounds, and she was super strong. Like she was very proud, like, look at me, I'm super strong. I'm like, oh my God, mom, that's awesome. So when she came in this way, this time we went for walks and we were exercising together and all of that. My mom's 65. So I think they're very inspiring people to, to tell me that whatever you set your mind to do, you can do it. You don't have to do extraordinary things, or, like go outside and build like a program that changes and transforms the universe, but you can do little things to change yourself, and that will create an impact in the world. Um, this is very important, and I want to close the presentation with the power of the heart. Heart scientists identified that the electrical signals emitted by the heart are 500 times stronger than the ones emitted by the brain. Some people say that we have three brains: the brain in the head, the brain in the heart, and the brain in the gut. Our thoughts and emotions shape your reality because your habits create your identity. So if I said when I started that I'm a behavior analyst, is because I've been a behavior analyst for 20 years. I repeated the same behavior of writing behavior plans and shaping behaviors in different people for 20 years. So the things that you repeat is what you become. So if you want to become an artist, you have to dedicate some time to practice your art, and then you can call yourself an artist, right? Take a minute to analyze your internal game, the reality that you are creating for yourself and your loved ones, because what you do today and for the next 5 years is going to show you the picture of who you are going to be in 5 years. Who are you going to be? Are you going to be an entrepreneur? Are you going to be an artist? Are you going to be, you know, a, a partner in a bigger company? Are you going to be, who are you going to be? And then what are the little things that you can do every day to get closer to that? And who are you going to become? People say, I want $1 million, but in reality, they don't want the money. They want who they want to become with that money. Do they want to join a yacht club? Do they want to, be in a bigger social network? That's the who you want to be is what's going to shape your identity. And that's eventually what is going to shape your behaviors. So you can reverse engineer that and start with your behaviors and then bring that idea of who do you want to be? And then just make it closer. Regan Hillier is one of the most renowned entrepreneurs. She's a millionaire right now, but she works from the internal game first. And she said something like, imagine your highest self. How does she talk? How does she walk? How does she eat? How does she dress? Become that. Become that person. Imagine who do you want to be in 5 years and become that person from today. So it's not fake it until you make it. It's just be truly connected to who you want to be. And when we are connected with the heart, then things start happening. I couldn't live without this, so I'm going to give you some statistics. Small business have created over 70% of new jobs since 2019, demonstrating how incremental changes and strategic goal setting can significantly impact long-term business success. Businesses that implement small, consistent improvements can lead to substantial positive outcomes. Business owners who improve their habits experience better time management, stress reduction, and positively influence their business success. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate you being here. This is my contact information. We're expanding our services to also provide coaching services to people that are willing to, do some transformation in their lives. So if you're interested in a consultation, that is my contact info. And again, thank you so much to the Chamber of Commerce for having me today. It's been a pleasure. I don't know
Thank
if
you
you
so much, Carolina. This has been incredibly enlightening. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and you're going to get some additional information in a follow-up email.